Hey everybody, welcome back. I decided to step away from working with a partner this lesson and talk about something that's really important for us to remember and to work on all the time as dancers, and that is posture. And when it comes to posture in tango, it's sort of one of those essential fundamentals that you have to understand in order to progress. Because the embrace, if you're dancing in close embrace especially, there's so little leeway for us. So even a little bit of deviation in your posture can create a lot of imbalance. And there are certain movements that you run into with tango at a certain level when you progress that don't work because unless you have your posture, you won't have your balance to actually execute them. So I want to share with you what optimally we're looking for when we're thinking about arranging our body, our posture for dancing tango, or dancing any other dance, really. This is going to be essential across the board, this kind of understanding for the posture. Now, in all dance forms and all movement, it is my recommendation that you always, always, always keep your knees slightly soft, especially the standing leg. I know that this contradicts perhaps a lot of what you've heard, but if you think about the logic of why that is, the knees are going to be your cushions, your shock absorbers. They're the ones that are helping you find balance because when they're unlocked, your body is always going to be slightly wiggling in the kneecap and on the knee joint so that you can find balance moment to moment. If you lock the knee at any point, you're basically limiting your ability to balance. So anything that you do in your spine for your posture, whether it's the head alignment, the pelvis alignment, anything that you do must come first from your knees being unlocked. So that's kind of a fundamental there that you need to remember. Now, when we're talking about the alignment of the spine, I like to think of 3 anchors along the length of the spine that help you keep your axis. The first anchor is going to be your sacrum, which is this bone at the bottom of your spine, at the base of your spine. It's a flat triangular bone. And that bone, the alignment of that bone, is going to be the first place where typically there can be misalignment. And what can happen is either the pelvis goes too forward, which happens a lot for followers, or it might go too far back, which happens sometimes for leaders. So we want this particular anchor to be neutral. And what does neutral mean? Neutral means that you retain this nice, gentle curve. This is called a lordotic curve. So it goes in just slightly, not a lot. So this would be a lot. But we're thinking just a nice, gentle curve in the lower back. And that's it. So that's going to be the first anchor. The second anchor is going to be at the level of your T12, which is a thoracic vertebra. It sits kind of at the level of the sternum. So if you find the center of your sternum here and imagine that line going through, you will be about at that level of T12. And what happens with this place a lot of times is that when we connect with the partner, for some of us, we exaggerate this point going forward. And so what that does is a number of things. One, it makes us more susceptible to falling into our toes. Our axis becomes very brittle this direction. So if I dance with a leader who has that quality, I as a follower can tell that they're about to lose balance. So I have to compromise my technique and help them balance. That's something I feel as a follower when I dance with a leader like that. But when I dance with a follower like that, what happens a lot of times is that sensation of not feeling the follower's feet. So if you are a leader and you're dancing with someone and you can feel that their chest is really forward, a lot of times you'll also be having a difficult time feeling their feet because it sort of disconnects the whole body if we're pressing more towards our partner this way. The other thing that it does is it messes with our ability to spiral. So for our dissociation, when we need to spiral around our partner, if my chest is forward and I try to go into an ocho from this alignment, I'm going to end up finding this limit here where I can't torque anymore because I'm slightly backbending as I'm turning. So this is why it's so important that the ribs need to stay in, so that when I go around my partner, I'm actually rotating around, and it's much more of a down. I think about as if I am rowing a boat. So I want the spiral to wrap down, and that way I will have my full range of my dissociation. So if you're a follower, and if you dance in close embrace, and a lot of times you feel tension in this spot here, especially when you're going back side forward. So this posture here happens quite a bit, where the back ends up being more of this shape. So it goes back side versus back, right? I go more down. So back side forward. I'm going to do a separate lesson on just dissociation. So if you have specific questions about dissociation, please pop them in the comments. We'd love to hear those. But for now, just remember that the way that you want to check whether your T12, this area here, if it's too far forward, one of the ways you can self-assess is ask yourself, can you breathe into your back? When I come into an embrace and I'm here, and I say to myself, okay, take a deep breath into the back, and I breathe in, what's going to happen is the front will inflate, and the back is actually going to contract slightly. So if you're in this position and you take a deep breath and you can tell you cannot breathe into the back, that's your signal that you need to relax this. And then once the ribs are relaxed, then from here, I can breathe into the back. So you should be able to feel that the lungs expand into the back of the ribs. It's a very physical sensation, so try it out. It's a cool way to get to know your body in this area. Now, our last anchor is going to be this bump at the base of your neck called C7. It's the seventh vertebra of the cervical spine. And what happens a lot for us is because we want to look down when we're dancing, we tend to allow this C7 to come forward a little bit. It's like I'm looking down to see where I'm going. Now, I've tried to fight my urge to look down. I've tried to train myself to only look forward. It's kind of hard. I think there's something about the gaze and the area of the brain that is activated. So, you know, they say, like, depending on where you look, you're accessing different parts of the brain. So it might be for tango, it's important for our gaze to be down because somehow it taps us into specific skill sets. But what you want to be sensitive to is that in order to look down, train yourself to just get your chin down, just a little nod of the chin, as if you're just nodding your head towards your chest, right? Rather than allowing the C7 to come forward. So if I just think about my spine aligning with, you know, a line of energy being able to go through these three anchors, then my head can gently nod slightly, and I'm not going to disturb my axis. And this way I can actually see everything around me without having to bring my head forward. So that's my trick for dealing with this urge. The best way for you to assess yourself really is to make a video of yourself. Sometimes I actually offer this online. If you want to send me your video, I can do sort of an online assessment of your posture and give you some tips on how to correct some of the things that you're dealing with. But you can take a video of yourself, and ideally your axis, it's just this imaginary line that goes through your spine, and the spine is sort of weaving around it. So the lumbar curve goes this way, and then the thoracic curve goes the opposite way. So it's kind of this S-shape line that's going through your spine. And so as you're balancing, you're always moving in this way to protect your axis. You want these anchors to be lined up on top of each other as much as possible, and prevent any one of them from going too far in any direction, because it's all integrated. One of the things that I hear a lot from people who struggle with balance is they'll say, oh, it's because my core is not strong enough, or I really need to strengthen my ankles. That might be the case, but most of the time you got to think of the whole system as one, that it's not an isolated thing. It's not about getting one part stronger. It's about a relationship between things. So you can find these relationships at work in all movement forms, whether it's dance or sports, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga. All of these movement systems use the same principles. And in Tango, these are really applicable when you're starting to learn to move with someone in a close embrace. If you've made it this far in the video and you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I recommend you go ahead and click that subscribe button, because every Saturday I post a new tutorial. Now, next week we are going to go over some of these principles with the partner. I'm going to show you how these apply when you're actually moving with someone in close embrace. So go ahead and submit your questions if you have any comments that you want me to know ahead of time, and I will see you next time, next Saturday. Ciao.